Live from New York. It's the show that values consistency.
Thank you.
Mr. Consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Jerry Jones. Just, it's not broke. Even though if it's kind of broke, stay with it. It's not a world championship.
They're not even the Texas State champions this year.
They won the city championship this year. You're right. They didn't win state.
To his credit, the guy has been excellent in the regular season, only behind the Chiefs with 36 wins. So, Brew, I thought we retired this bit alongside the breakdancers, but I guess not. Give Mike McCarthy's return a grade.
All right, here we go. I don't know if this will surprise you guys or not, but I'm starting with a B.
Okay, this is a bit.
A B? No, this is not a bit.
Well,
now,
look,
look,
I'm starting with.
It is a B because Mike McCarthy is a B-level coach. Now, some might say, B plus, Chris. Regular season, sure. But in the playoffs, not so much. Now, since he won the Super Bowl, in 2011, 2012, he's had 9 seasons in the playoffs. He's 6-9 in the playoffs, and 4 of those losses, including 2 in Dallas, have come to lower seeds. All right, so that's why I lowered him to a B. But my point is, Mike McCarthy is a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach, but he's a good coach. I don't want to come up here and act like he's a terrible coach. How in the world could you keep Mike McCarthy 12-5, 3 straight years? Legit. However, my real grade is for the owner who runs the thing, Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones, you get an F.
Why?
And here's what I'll say to the fans of the Dallas Cowboys. The next time you see Jerry Jones on television talking about, I won a Super Bowl more than any other thing in life, anything in the world, you yell at your television set, stop it, and turn it off. Or turn off the radio, podcast, social media, however you're listening to him, turn it off because it's not true. All right, more than a Super Bowl, Jerry Jones wants a microphone in his face. He wants a camera focused on his being. That's what he wants. And so he wants a coach who doesn't push back on Jerry giving freaking post-game interviews when the coach is supposed to be the only voice, besides the players, that you hear after the game. A coach is not going to push back on him doing his weekly interviews. And that is why the same reason he kept Jason Garrett for 9 years, despite only having 4 winning seasons, is the same reason he is keeping Mike McCarthy. He didn't want a Belichick or somebody that's going to come in and say, hey, why don't you cut out talking to the media after every game? Let me be the face of the franchise. In fact, the more I think about it, Dusty, this is not big enough. Oh, no. This is not enough for what Jerry Jones just did. He is fooling the fans of the Cowboys, making you think he's Super Bowl or bust when he's not. He's playoffs or bust. He's city championship or bust.
All right, bro, I agree with so much you just said, and I appreciate the performative aspects of it. And for America out there, while Wildes off the air curses like a sailor, and I might occasionally on the air curse a time or two, as close as Brew will come on or off the air, or I think even in his own internal monologue, is freaking. So when he drops that, he is fired up.
That's my F word.
That's right, exactly. He is fired up. So I want to echo a lot of what Brew said, but first, I had a eureka moment during Brew's rant, which was, and Brew has been hot with picks, predictions, there's no denying it.
Oh, yeah.
But he now ultimately, I think one of our biggest arguments of the year, he has officially lost.
Correct.
The Cowboys clearly, definitively, without any equivocation, were not Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, we've been
because
saying this
they
for months.
lost in round 1 and everyone's coming back. So, Brew, listen, I agree with your analysis on a lot of this, but you do have to take, I wish I had a 30-by-12 L to hand you, because that is a 6-month argument we had that it would appear you have lost.
Now, I expect this from Nick.
No,
but I've been saying that for a long time.
The Super Bowl or bust is in the vein of must win.
Well, now.
In the vein of can't lose. Can't lose.
Oh, now.
You should know.
Oh, now.
You should know. It's not that they firing the whole front office.
All right, got it. All right, now if I may, to the more serious business at hand, so much of what Bruce said is correct.
Yeah.
I no longer believe Jerry Jones' #1 goal is winning a Super Bowl. I believe Jerry Jones would like to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I believe Jerry Jones' #1 goal is to be the face, the voice, and have full control of the Dallas Cowboys.
I buy that.
There is no other realistic explanation for this is not a typical coaching market.
Right.
This is a coaching market that has the greatest coach of all time available, that has a really good, in his coaching prime, if you will, coach in Mike Vrabel available. One of the only coaches we've ever seen succeed in the collegiate and pro level available. By the way, two of the other ones who have did it for your Dallas Cowboys, so you know that model can work.
Great call.
Yep.
And despite all of that, it's not like this is an F because he's not, trying to get in line to hire Ben Johnson. You have known commodities out there, and you keep saying that how desperately you want to win. If there was ever a time, and I didn't even mention Pete Carroll, who, by the way, is a known quality head coach, pardon me. And so I want to be clear here on my feelings on McCarthy. It is not about the singular playoff loss. It is about a dozen-year trend post the Super Bowl that they won in 2010, February of 2011, what it was, the 2010 season. His teams not playing to their seed in the postseason and losing home playoff games in the postseason. With the Dallas Cowboys, he has now lost home playoff games to Jimmy Garoppolo.
He's a great player.
It's not even. He's a winner.
Okay,
but it's not even great quarterbacks.
Exactly right. In a home playoff game to Jordan Love, who, by the way, listen, Jordan,
maybe
it might be, but it was his first career playoff start. We saw him go 15-1 and get blown out at home in Green Bay. We saw him blow a 2-score lead with 2 minutes left in a conference championship game. Yeah. We saw him get blown out at home against San Francisco. We've seen all these things throughout his career. That's why it's so concerning.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you know that stuff today? Did you look that up, or have you known that for a while?
So Wildes, that's the thing.
I haven't even said the tape.
No, I understand. Your point is that why could I then pick them to go to the Super Bowl?
Well,
because
everybody. It's not just you. I heard
he had a brain freeze.
all day long. People who had the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl or going at least to the NFC Championship, shocked that they kept they kept Mike McCarthy . Man, you had him going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Some people had him winning the Super Bowl. You had him winning that game when we saw all of the writing on the wall. The bad clock management.
Wait a second.
The tomato cans. Getting run on by Arizona. Getting run on by the Bills.
Bravo.
Getting run on by the 49ers. Wow, shocker. The Packers ran the ball.
Hold on. Wait a second.
Bravo.
Did anybody here think the Packers were going to win that game? No.
Chris did.
Deep down.
No. We have a Packers.
Not that game.
No, that's. By the way, I wouldn't be firing him if they lost in the NFC title game.
But what if they had lost this weekend?
If they had lost this weekend to Detroit, I think it would depend on how it looked. It is Wildes. This is. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it follows the logic of how human beings operate. I think everyone has different levels of benefit of the doubt they are willing to give people, and then they have a line. For me, I was like, you know what? Given how talented I think the roster is, given the fact that I thought Dak would play well, and given the softness of the conference, and that I thought Dallas could get home field throughout, which they came, a game away from whatever it was, I think they could make the Super Bowl. And everything fell exactly the way they wanted, and they got rolled in round one. So that, for me, is the line. Everyone can have different ones. I don't think it is at all in conflict for the people who believed in the Cowboys the most, to be the most appalled by what they did this weekend, this past weekend. I don't think that's ridiculous in the least.
I'll be honest with you. I was using you as a proxy for some of the other horrible takes I heard today.
Well,
not just you, but we got to change the roster. Like the roster you thought was winning the Super Bowl?
Well, so
that wasn't even your take.
But I just add a little.
If you feel like the roster needs an overhaul, that's actually a defense of McCarthy. If you think the roster stinks, that's a defense of McCarthy. I don't think the roster
is legit.
Go.
I mean, the roster's okay.
It's more than okay.
What do you mean?
It's a top 5 roster in the league. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't win they don't show
That's
up.
why the coach, that's why you get this when you bring him back.
Okay. Turn our attention to Dak.
I have this weird feeling on sports. I care a lot about the postseason. And so I can think one thing all year, and then there could be something so great. I had Nikola Jokic as one of the most fraudulent 2-time MVPs ever. And in a postseason run, I now believe he's one of the 20 greatest players ever. I don't think that
information is
and I put more impact and emphasis on your postseason resume, even though it is a smaller sample, than I do on your regular season resume across the board. And it's not necessarily about what your win-loss record is. It's about your individual performance in those spots.
Right.
And so if I am the Dallas Cowboys and I am faced with the decision, Brew, of I cannot do nothing with Dak Prescott. Cap-wise, it's not tenable. It's a $60 million cap hit, and you can't tag him this offseason, so you'd be paying have a $60 million cap hit, and maybe then he could just walk. To keep him, it's probably, and people are going to think this is crazy, it's going to be around 5 years, $300 million, $60 million a year, with probably a little over 2/3 of that guaranteed. I would, if I were the Dallas Cowboys, and that Dak would have to be okay with it because he has a no trade, call teams like Washington with the number 2, New England with the number 3, Atlanta with the number 8. They'd have to give me something additionally, and see if they would like to be the team to pay Dak Prescott 5 years, $300 million. Because I do not believe after this postseason performance, once again, that Dak Prescott is enough to carry a team, and at $60 million a year for the rest of his prime, that's what he'll have to do. Well, you are not going to have more talent than they have right now.
All right, so what if either the team is like, no, we'll pass, or Dak is like, no, I'm not agreeing to a trade? Then what?
Then I think you are in a brutal position, and the position that I would be in is probably take my medicine and risk losing him for nothing this offseason.
Wow.
I know the Cowboys won't do it. I know they won't do that. They will they're going to sign him to an extension is what they're going to do, but I would not want to tie the next half decade of my franchise at that salary to this guy, even though I thought he was the MVP for large portions of the year, because we now have his whole 20s sample size of his postseason performances, and the best one ever, Brew, was the first one we saw from him as a rookie in Green Bay.
All right, what I'm doing, look, you got to bring him back. You have to bring him back. Because now, if I'm Dallas, and maybe this is whimsical, all right, wishful thinking. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm sitting down with Dak and I'm saying, I'm not trying to make him the highest paid player in the league. All right. I'm like, look, we'll make you a top 5 guy. I'm bringing up how we need to build around you, Dak. So we need a little bit less, take a little bit, don't take as much as you can. Tom Brady won all those Super Bowls, never took as much as he could get. Dak, you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. If we win a Super Bowl, it is going to be like winning 2 or 3 Super Bowls somewhere else. All right, so we'll still make you top 5. Burrow's the most per year, 55?
Yeah.
We'll still give you 50. Between 50, 52. I know that's still a lot, but let's take a little bit less so we can build around you. And look, Dak, coming off of this performance, he said himself, I should be on the hot seat too. Now, again, I'm not going to blame him if he just wants as much as he can get. But I'm just saying, if I were in Dak Prescott's shoes, I might be willing to say, you know what, I didn't perform. I didn't hold up my end of the bargain. I'll take a little less so we can build around it. But, Nick, I can't, if I'm the Cowboys, I cannot start over at quarterback. Look at these Pittsburgh.
Why not?
Because you could go the next 5 to 10 years without getting a legitimate quarterback. Yeah. I mean, ask Pittsburgh. They got almost everything else you need, and they're not Tennessee. Pretty good team. The Raiders, it is not easy,
Tennessee
and I hate
got
to say
further in the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill than Dallas ever has with Dak Prescott.
Okay, but that's somewhat flukish. Tannehill, I know you don't think he's better than Dak. My point is, unless you get that guy, and the draft is not a sure thing. Trevor Lawrence, now maybe he will become a star. Right now, he's been a tad bit disappointing. I mean, so you don't know when and some of the guys have been late picks that have become great. Lamar Jackson, or at least late first round. And so I'm keeping him. I'm keeping
Let
him.
me ask you a question. Someone sent this to me on social media. That it was a compliment. He said, Dak is Alex Smith. Like, very good.
He's better than Alex Smith.
No,
Wouldn't you agree with that?
But Alex Smith with the Chiefs was leading. Did he lead the league in passing before he?
They were terrible in the playoffs every year.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there's a. And
Don't
there's
you
chance,
think?
like,
Though, do you think he's?
But he's not.
Alex
But
Smith?
Alex Smith is a very, very good quarterback. But he wasn't the guy.
No,
and if the Chiefs just held on to Alex Smith, they would never be the Chiefs.
I think you put a one too many varies on Alex Smith there.
Very.
He was never in the MVP.
No, I think the better comp is the one Colin, to Colin's credit, has used for a couple years. It's Kirk Cousins. And they both, by the way, have the sleep number ads. But it's Kirk Cousins. It's one playoff win to 2 playoff wins. It's if you do those blind stat reveals that I like so much.
Right.
It's there's real similarities there, but you feel like he's a good quarterback. When he's paid like the best in the league, you're in a really rough spot.
Here quickly, you don't get rid of that label until you do. Peyton Manning had that label. Peyton Manning won his. Hold on. Peyton is better than Dak. Don't get me wrong. He had won MVPs and all that. But he didn't win his first playoff game or Super Bowl till his 9th year. He was 3-6 in the playoffs. Now, he'd had some really good games. We'd had some bad ones, too. And so you can't erase that label till you do it. And I think Dak, with the right pieces around him, actually could do it.
But these are the right pieces.
That's my problem. Is
Go get Derrick Henry. Dak, take a little bit less and we're going to get Derrick Henry. They get Derrick Henry and a little bit of meat on the. Well, they could get Derrick Henry. I think you don't think that's realistic.
I mean, I guess.
Go.
He's free. Go get him.
McCarthy's
Thunder
not good
and Lightning
in the
is
playoffs.
back.
Cowboys are not really S-Bob. We discussed it. Brew, I don't even want to hear the answer to this question. Do you consider the Cowboys Super Bowl contenders if they run it back?
They will be what they are. They will be what they've been the last 3 years.
Don't say it.
Hold on. They'll be a fringe contender. They will be a team they might go 12-5. They might go 11-6. They might go 13-4 playing with fire in their belly because of this. But would I pick them to get to the Super Bowl? No, because they're still a silly franchise with an owner who's created a culture that is opposed to winning big. So they'll be good. They'll be legit. We'll be talking about them, and some misguided souls will pick them to win the Super Bowl, as some did this year in the preseason. Those will remain nameless.
Well, who picked them to win the Super Bowl?
To get to the Super Bowl.
You got to find those people. I don't know where those people. Listen, I am scarred by what happened on Sunday. I don't think you could have the Cowboys. The other sneaky thing that really matters this time of year, I shouldn't say sneaky, but I think it gets underplayed when we look back on seasons, is health. And I understand the Cowboys lost Diggs early in the season. But that was a healthy team. You know what I mean? They had their left tackle, Tyron Smith, who's in and out of line the last couple of years. He's healthy. Zach Martin's healthy. Dak's healthy. The receiving core, all of that. It is going to be hard to realistically be better positioned in a conference more in flux than they were in the NFC this season. And this season, they didn't lose a heartbreaker. They didn't lose a fluky game. They got rolled in every quarter of that game until the Packers stopped caring. So that, to me, they are right now, as currently constructed, in a weird team to player, sport to sport, but similar bucket in my brain is James Harden. It's like, there's almost nothing you can do in the regular season. Like there's one, and maybe that's where they were for Brew early. Maybe Brew was ahead of me on it. But I didn't hold last year against them that much because I thought they lost to a better team, and they were on the road, and so there were a lot of things there. But now I'm like, what are you going to do that's going to make me truly believe this is not going to happen now that you have the same coach and you have the same quarterback?
Yeah. Playoff turnovers.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.